I'm Cape Joel, and this is Comic Smack, your weekly, daily, all the time, anytime comic show where I give you your fix of everything you need to know from the world of comic books and superheroes. And on today's show, we are taking a closer look at Detective Comics number 961. What will kill Batman and his team first? Tampering with dark magics or the evil cult assassin Ascalon? Well, let's hop on in together and find out. So, as we join the comic, we once again are treated to a little scene of Batman's early days training for magic in Vegas with the Zatanna family. This issue does probably a better job than anyone that preceded it in explaining why Batman never actually added magic to his arsenal, and that is magic requires a fair amount of creativity, as well as accepting the unacceptable things Bruce Wayne was never good at, what with his cold, calculating, tactical mind. It's right around this time, too, Zatanna decides to show off to Bruce by showing him the Gnosis Orb for the very first time, basically a giant Deus Ex Machina orb that can give you the answer to any question you could ask. Papa Zatara catches them right after he has a meeting with frickin' Ra's al Ghul. Yeah, apparently these two had some dealings in the past. Interesting. I definitely see James Tynion planting seeds for future storylines right here. Now, Giovanni knows Bruce is a good kid and didn't mean anything by messing with the orb, but at the same time, he can't trust him. This knowledge could ruin his life, and as such, he decides to give him the old brain wash and dry. Now, after all this build-up with the orb, what actually becomes of it? Batman thinks better of it and takes Zatanna's advice. Yeah, you're right, I probably shouldn't have this orb. If I knew the answer to all my questions, that could really mess me up. Let's never speak of this again until it becomes important. Now, back over in the quote-unquote A story, we get to take a look inside the mind of John Paul Valley. You remember him, right? This was supposed to be his focus arc after all. John is being tortured by the specter of a ghostly little boy who looks like a young version of him. This is the human embodiment of the system, the brainwashing program the cult of St. Dumas put John through to raise his senses and make him the ultimate cult killing machine. The system had been laying dormant for a long time now, but it woke up again when Ascalon touched John a few issues back, and that's because, and wrap your brain around this one, the AI that fuels Ascalon and the system are actually one and the same. The AI is also a super huge fanboy for John Paul Valley's time as Azrael and wants him to return to the church and return to his duties of killing all enemies of the Lord. John, rightly so, tells the AI to get bent, but that doesn't really matter right now because Ascalon has his body completely under control and he's even branched out, taking over a bunch of Luke Fox's robots. It is, however, quite ironic that up until now, John Paul has lost pretty much every fight he's ever been in Detective Comics since this newest series started, and the only time he actually got an upper hand is when an evil AI was controlling his mind. Batwoman and Cassandra Cain hope that if they can knock the helmet off of his head, they can maybe break the control the system has over John. Luke's busy conducting his own plan too. If you recall, he had the Batmech suit that Jim Gordon used during his time as Batman. That suit strangely didn't actually get taken over by Ascalon, which means there must be something pretty damn special about it. Our heroes eventually bring Azrael down, deciding maybe instead of knocking the helmet off, they'll just knock him out to save themselves some time. So much for heightened senses, am I right? Geez, even in his focus issue he loses. Batman and Zatanna choose this second to show up from their side detour to talk shop with the rest of the team about what they're supposed to do right now. Ascalon and the rest of the Batwing robots are running wild all over the city, and Batman and the others fear that there's no way in stopping Ascalon that won't also hurt John Paul, whose brain is sadly stuck right up in the machine right now. Luckily, it would seem Luke Fox has a plan. In fact, he's been working on one for a long time. He had become good friends with John, and he thought it was kind of bullshit that the costume the guy had to run around in also reminded him of the horrible murder cult that abused him. Luke had hoped that he could develop a new suit for John, one that would allow him to access all of the heightened senses that the system allowed him to, but also let him keep control of his own mind. For that, though, Batwing would have to model it on someone important, someone who is a symbol of righteousness and good deeds, and I mean, really, do I have to tell you that he modeled it on Batman? He sure did, and the costume looks exactly like Azrael's Nightfall costume, which was admittedly not a great time for John Paul Valley. Furthermore, I can understand updating the costume and making it look cool and everything, but why did you keep the knife fingers, Luke? So that was Detective Comics number 961, and overall I would say this has probably been my favorite issue of this series so far. It had a real slump there in the middle. The whole Batman and magic flashback stuff, while definitely interesting, kind kind of ended with a bit of a wet thud. I mean, I'm sure they're going to revisit this stuff in the future. Why else would you literally introduce a Deus Ex Machina machine if you weren't going to use it down the line? It just feels like it stole so much focus from what was supposed to be John Paul Valley's focus arc. Now, that being said, this issue actually did buckle down and focus on John Paul Valley for a change, and I feel I actually do know him a little better now. In fact, I will actually take my hat off to James Tynion just a little bit here. If it was intentional that the reason John Paul kept losing fights since this series has started is because he's not connected to his full potential within the system. The Nightfall throwback armor is cool, even if I much prefer the Azrael costume that he's rocking right now. Overall, I'd feel comfortable giving this one a 7 out of 10, and I hope this arc can at least end strong. So there you go, everyone. There's Batman for the week. I hope you enjoyed it, and as always, why not check out some of these other videos? Then you can follow me on social media at CapeJoel. And if you want to buy some cheap comics and support the channel while you're at it, please use my book depository link down in the description to buy whatever you like. So until next time, everyone, this has been CapeJoel. Thank you so much for watching.